told an earlier group, this is the only time I've preached where people had to sign a consent form to listen. Well, thank you guys for coming out to help Kirby and Carmen with their research this evening. I'm happy to be part of this and appreciate your time. So what was the last time you were asked to serve? Take part in some service project on campus somewhere in the community? It seems like this happens all the time. Every day you and I are surrounded with opportunities and invitations to do this. Emails, phone calls, chapel speeches, or tap on the shoulder asking us to serve someone, somewhere, in some way. And to be honest, it's impossible to answer every opportunity. And if we're really honest, there are some we prefer not to accept. So we offer our list of what seem to be reasonable excuses for us. Some of these we express openly, others we're afraid to let people know. You know what I mean? I'm too busy, I'm too important, or it won't be appreciated. Well, there's a well-known story told in John chapter 13 of Jesus washing his disciples' feet. And if it were me, I would use all three of these excuses to get out of it. In fact, John tells the story this way. It was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that his hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The evening meal was in progress, and the devil had already prompted Judas, the son of Simon Iscariot, to betray Jesus. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon, who said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand." "No," said Peter, "you'll never wash my feet." Jesus answered, "Unless I wash you, you will have no part with me." "Then, Lord," Simon replied, "not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well." Jesus answered, "Those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. And you are clean, though not all of you." Now, it doesn't bother me that they get their feet washed here in the text. Their sandals were not comparable with our New Balance shoes, and walking across the sands of Palestine made for some nasty, uncomfortable feet. Not only that, there are some things you just don't want to smell while you're eating dinner. By all means, wash their feet. What bothers me is seeing Jesus, of all people, wash their feet. And it doesn't just bother me. If you notice the text, Peter was bothered as well. "Jesus, you'll never wash my feet." Can you blame me? I have my own objections. Some even Peter wouldn't understand at the time. For instance, you see, Jesus, he doesn't have time to wash the disciples' feet. Just think how busy your life is. You're in college. You ever wonder how you're going to fit everything into 24 hours? There's the school stuff, homework, test, paper, random extra credit for listening to some guy give a sermon. And then you have your social life, dating, social clubs. And in the middle of all that, you hear calls to serve. There is the Lighthouse Ministry, Wishing Well, outreach programs, reading to school kids. Sometimes, I'm sure you feel like me, you just want to say, "I don't have time to do that." And who would blame Jesus if he did the same? "I'm too busy to wash your feet right now. I have other, more important things to do." But he didn't. In fact, John introduces the story this way. It was before the festival of the Passover. Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. You see, this phrase, his hour, is John's way of talking about Jesus' death. Till this moment in John, it's been clear his hour had not yet come. You remember John 2, when Jesus and his mother attend a wedding and they run out of drinks? Mary told Jesus to do something, and Jesus responded by saying, "My hour is not yet come." And then there's John 7, when some of the temple officials wanted to arrest Jesus, but John again tells you his hour had not yet come. And then in chapter 8, when Jesus is speaking boldly in the temple, John again says his hour had not yet come. But when we arrive in the text in chapter 13, seated around the table, things have changed. John says Jesus knew that his hour had come. And by the time Jesus stands up from the table to wash his disciples' feet, he's only a few hours from his own death, and yet he's still there washing his disciples' feet. Well, if he's not too busy, perhaps he's too important to wash their feet. That'd be my excuse. Maybe his status is too high. People don't usually say it, but we think it. I'm too important, too educated, too accomplished to be seen doing something like that. Someone needs to pick up the trash, and we respond, I'm not the janitor. People are needed downtown to work in a soup line, and we think, but I'm from a middle-class family. Let somebody else do it. We may not admit it, but the thought is often there. This seems to be Peter's objection as well. Lord, you will never wash my feet. Washing feet is the job of a hired servant. If there wasn't a hired servant, then let Matthew do it. He's a tax collector. Let Peter, James, or John do it. They're fishermen, and they're used to the stench. Let anyone besides Jesus do it, because he's far too important to be doing these kind of things. John spends a lot of time telling you just how important Jesus is. He began his book by saying, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. John is the one who tells us all of the I am statements of Jesus. You know, I am the vine, I am the door, I am the shepherd, the bread of life, the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus is too important to be washing his disciples' feet. Would anyone blame Jesus for saying, someone else needs to do this? I'm too important to wash your feet. But he didn't. Again, John says, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, and that he had come from God and was going to God, he still wrapped himself in a towel, knelt down, and washed their feet. Well, if his schedule or his status doesn't stop him, maybe his dinner guest will. Who wants to serve someone you know will turn their back on you, desert you, and betray you? Some people just don't appreciate the service and sacrifice of others. Why even waste your time? That's why it's kind of bothersome to watch Jesus here in the text. All of the disciples are gathered there eating dinner. Peter, Andrew, James, John, and look, seated right there at the table is even Judas. John tells you what Judas is thinking at the table. The devil had already prompted Judas to betray him. And not just Judas, John tells you what Jesus is thinking. Jesus knew who was going to betray him. Would anyone blame Jesus if he just skipped Judas? Would he really be at fault if he just stood up and said, I know what you're about to do. Wash your own feet. But he didn't. John says Jesus washed their feet. Every day you and I are surrounded with opportunities and invitations to serve. Every day we're invited to serve someone, somewhere, in some way. And every day we offer excuses as to why we can't serve. Not me, not now, not them. And then there's Jesus, in the shadow of his own cross, with full knowledge that he is the Son of God, and with a full understanding of who he serves, wrapped in a towel, down on his knees, washing their feet. And as he finished, he told his disciples, now that I, your teacher, have washed your feet, you also should wash one another's.
Thank you, Jeremy. Right now, Carmen is going to be passing out some packets that have questionnaires on them. If you guys could fill them out, one of the pages has a backside, so make sure you fill that out, and then just sit quietly until you guys are finished and we dismiss you.